topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Are you ready for Insights to Incite? Ready or not, it's showtime. Now get ready to listen in and watch right here on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Join us and together we will escape the mundane. Insights to Incite, here is your host, Brandon Lawson.
Hello. This is Brandon here, and coming from my residence here in Ohio, just about 18-20 minutes out from Indiana. And I hope in this podcast, as you may or may not know, this is the debut of Insights to Incite. And I hope to, through the conversations with you, that, we can connect and that I'll be able to bring you some information that is practical and helpful you can take with you. That's the idea behind Insights to Incite. And being this is the first show, I wanted to share just a little bit about myself, as you may wonder who I am, what my background is. And I will say, without going into in-depth background, that through the conversations I have with others whom I meet, just as I go about life, go about from day to day, I often get asked if I'm some will say, wonder if I'm a coach or a counselor. Others wonder if I'm some type of speaker, whether it be a minister, pastor, a motivational speaker, inspirational speaker. Others think I might even be just a professor or teacher. And, quite frankly, I've been all of the above pretty much, maybe not in a formal manner, but I have served in every capacity except for a professor. And, and with that said, I just as many people who wonder if I'm doing this, if I do that for a living, I thought perhaps I should start my own show. And for those of you who are watching through Talk4 TV, I just would encourage you, if you like what you see, and that you should be able to see at the bottom of the screen the website address and the email address. But whether you're listening to the radio or watching, if you really enjoy what you have to hear and you want to know more, want to bring me closer to you, your home, your church, closer to your home, to your church, your business, whatever kind of gathering, I would welcome the opportunity, and please be sure to let us know. So in regards to the show, I want to engage you and weave you into the very fabric of the message each week. And I hope in incorporating you that this will be an interactive thing that we will grow through discussion and experience. And I desire to give you wholesome messages, to speak wholesome life messages into you, give you truths that enlighten you and that you can will take with you and will inspire you to do better and be better. And with that said, we all know there's plenty of unwholesome messages and things out there today, and how it tends to, even when we want to avoid it and do our best to try to, it has its way of bombarding us. So I want to, give you another feedline, a different intake. And does this mean I would never, speak on a controversial matter? Never bring anything up as such that would be controversial? No, not at all. And does it mean that I'm going to look to focus in on controversial subjects? No, I won't. But at the same time, I'm bound to at some point say something that you aren't going to follow or agree. As undoubtedly our viewpoints are different. In some things. But with that said, today I want to speak to you about a subject matter that I believe is crucial. One might even say it's critical to ourselves, to our relations,
Wow, that was insightful. Stay tuned as we go on a quick break, and we'll be right back with more Insights to Incite right here on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV. Are you seeking a speaker or coach who speaks life into your people? If so, look no further. Brandon Lawson is one who will inspire and motivate his audience, as well as empathize and relate to all. Reach out to Brandon and let him be your speaker and life coach by sending an email to brandon@connectandimpact.net or calling him at 513-520-7597. Brandon looks forward to speaking with you, to you, and for you. Let's connect and impact today. Insights to Incite, a real show with real-life messages. This show, which can be found on radio, TV, and our podcast, gives us insight to incite us to action and to excellence. Watch and or listen to Insights to Incite live at noon Eastern Time every Thursday on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV. Check out our past episodes on iHeartRadio, YouTube, or anywhere you listen to your podcast. Join us each week, and together we will escape the mundane. We are back with more Insights to Incite, so get ready and tune in to listen and watch. Now once again, let's join Brandon Lawson.
Sorry about that. There was a technical difficulty there, the engineer told me. But as I was mentioning, was wanting to bring practical truths and bringing messages that enlighten you to and inspire you to go forth and to be better and do better. And with that said, I wonder, have you ever been, in a situation where, you feel awkward, the people you're around or the setting you're in, it's uncomfortable? I mean, I think most of us have been there at one point, at least. And with that said, we often wonder, we feel like a fish out of the water. We're out of place, and we wonder what we're to do. How are we to be? Perhaps it was the first time you met your future spouse, and you were immediately drawn to her, or instantly you had a crush on him, or maybe it was a situation where, it was the first time you met your future spouse's parents or siblings, or his or her extended family. Have you been there? If that's not you, maybe you can relate to this. You're new to town and you visit this congregation for the first time, and you don't know anybody there. Or you just moved into town, and it's the first day at the office because you just moved into town to take this position. We're there and we're saying, I don't know anyone. Who should I approach? Or, you're wondering to yourself, you're saying, I'm so nervous. What am I to do? I know to be kind, to be courteous, but how should I extend that? Who's the best one to try to connect with first? That's where we're often asking ourselves, how are we to be? How are we to be, though? And that's the title of a series of lessons that I want to share with you. In today's message, we're going to talk about the first letter of though. How are we to be, though? Honestly, we know we're to be ourselves. I mean, sometimes that can be easier said than done. But with that said, what can we do to try to, relax and try to put us on the right path to just being us? The first thing is we need to be true to who we are. Be true to ourselves, to others, to be true to life. So, in light of that, have you been at a point where, you're trying to do this to fit in and you just uneasy, and you might even ask yourself, how am I to look? You want to just be me, but you're so nervous and uneasy about it that that's easier said than done. So what does it look like to be a person who's actually true to themselves, to others, and who just goes about life? Well, before I answer that, I believe there are some fundamentals that help us to lay the groundwork to just being us, just being ourselves. And first, I would say, know who you are. Know yourself, understand yourself. Don't exaggerate or pretend. And within this concept of knowing who we are, there's two sides to it. One would be from our own end, considering ourselves as we come to know who we are, we have to understand and know how we are. What are our tendencies, or what are our natural tendencies and habits? What do we tend to do? Maybe there's certain nuances about us, but also it's just knowing your own personality. Knowing this and having a grasp of this can help us to shrug off the things that are brought against us or said about us. But not all the time is it necessarily negative. We have to be careful not to let the praise go to our head or the criticism seep down to our heart. We need to be who we are, and understanding who we are, we can sort of go against the grain of allowing other people's words to seep into us. While they may enter your mind, you can always flip the channel, change what's playing on the screen of your mind. So the first part of knowing who we are from our view, from considering ourselves, is that you need to know how you are and understand your tendencies. The second side of it is considering ourselves from the viewpoint of others, and that's where we need to be mindful of not to attach too much weight or too much substance to what others say. So in light of that, we should be mindful of this, because if we're not careful, we can get carried away, especially on the positives. People give us a lot of praise and get our head, and we're right in the clouds. And, we don't want to go there. And most folks, they don't, I would say, chances are just about everyone, it feels this way. And that is, we don't want to be around someone who's riding along the clouds, who can't even relate to us. Sometimes they're might even say arrogant. They turn us off by being so feeling like they're so much better than we are. And nobody likes to be around those folks. So, in light of that, Solomon in the scripture, he was been acquitted as the wisest man to ever live. At least during his day, there was people traveled for the ends of the earth to come see him, to learn from him and his wisdom. But Solomon, the writer of the Proverbs, stated in chapter 16, verse 18, he said, "Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall." So that's where we have to, guard against that, and plus, you even look over in the New Testament, the Apostle Paul, he wrote, more than half the New Testament. And within there, you see, he speaks in Romans chapter 12 about this very thing. And chapter 12 of Romans is that chapter is focused on, helping the church to have better relations. That's what that chapter is all about. And there's 21 verses within it. And within those 21 verses alone, twice Paul made it a point to remind them not to think too highly of themselves. So, there we have it. And then you even look in the words of Jesus. In Luke chapter 10, the first 20 verses of chapter 10, he talks about this, specifically in verses 17 through 20. He warns the disciples that he sent out, tries to help them to, keep the right perspective, warns them, don't let this go to your head. In fact, let's turn there. It says, after this, the Lord appointed 70 others, and he sent them ahead of him in pairs to every town and place where he himself was about to go. He told them, the harvest is abundant, but the workers are few. Therefore, pray to the Lord of the harvest to send out workers into his harvest. Now go, I'm sending you out like lambs among wolves. Don't carry a money bag, traveling bag, or sandals. Don't greet anyone along the road. Whatever house you enter, first say, peace to this household. If a son of peace is there, your peace will rest on him. But if not, it will return to you. Remain in the same house, eating and drinking what they offer, for the worker is worthy of his wages. Don't be moving from house to house. When you enter any town and they welcome you, eat the things set before you. Heal the sick who are there and tell them, the kingdom of God has come near. When you enter any town and they don't welcome you, go out into its streets and say, we are wiping off as a witness against you even the dust of your town that clings to our feet. Know this for certain, the kingdom of God has come near. I tell you, on that day it will be more tolerable for Sodom than for that town. Then, skipping down, stop there at verse 12, skipping down to verse 17. This is as these 70 that he appointed and sent out returned. The 70 returned with joy, saying, Lord, even the demons submit to us in your name. He said to them, I watched Satan fall from heaven like a lightning flash. Look, I have given you the authority to trample on snakes and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy. Nothing will ever harm you. However, don't rejoice that the spirits submit to you, but rejoice that your names are written in heaven. So even there we see Jesus, as telling them, keep the right perspective. Don't get so caught up in it that, you ride off into the clouds and remain grounded where you are, and so that's, something that we, need to be mindful of. Don't allow people's criticism. Don't take it to heart. Don't let it seep in, and don't even allow the praise to go to our head. And you might wonder, but why? Why shouldn't I? And right here is I want to talk about what I want to title the introspects. And these lessons that I'll give in this series, I want to, there'll be a section called the introspects that will be attached to each point. Each point, each key that I speak of in becoming better at the topic that we're discussing for the week. And these are meant to help us to look inward, to see inside of ourselves, and to get that introspection, and then therefore to move us outward and to do better, to be better. And within this, you say, why shouldn't I? Well, ask yourself, what good is it going to do you? What good will it do you for you to riding off in the clouds, and above everyone? While it might seem it would be fun, I don't know. It might seem like it wouldn't be a bad thing, at least for you personally. It might rub others the wrong way, but not you. I think that you would find it would rub you the wrong way. You wouldn't even like it. And in fact, if you were to look back and were able to get a vision of yourself, you would be turned off by the very person you were. So that, and when it comes to the negative, what good is it going to do you to, or do me, what good will it do myself to, be, hurt and torn, and, to the point that, I think less of who I really am. Really? It doesn't do us any good. does no one any good to exaggerate the truth, or even if some cases it's not even going to be true, but if it is, it never helps to exaggerate it, good or bad. It's a no-win all the way around. So the first fundamental to being a person of truth, to living in that, is to know yourself, to understand how you are, and to not exaggerate or pretend. Second, we also should know others more deeply. And no, this isn't a matter of being nosy. It's not that, and not being nosy or that, but it's getting outside of ourselves and, and truly being interested in others, and wanting to be other people focused for the good. I mean, this is one of those things that it would do us well to be more interested than interesting. I've learned that when we are more interested, we often become more interesting, as a matter of fact. Whereas if we try to be interesting without being interested in the others, we many times are nothing more than a turnoff, and once again, turn on people the other way, and that's not what we want to do here. And so with that said, get to know others on a deeper level. And in fact, there's the great industrialist from the 19th century, Andrew Carnegie, who said, "No man becomes rich unless he enriches others." And you think about that. What reward or riches is there? What reward or riches truly exist if no one is impacted for the better? Let me say that again. What reward or what riches exist if no life is impacted for the better? Think about it. I mean, Jesus, himself, and you'll see it in the New Testament, primarily in the first 4 books, the Gospels, but Jesus, was masterful at helping others. But why was that? Well, I guess you could say he was supernaturally gifted. He had, he was able to do things that none of us could do. And while you would be true in saying that, I think there's another element that we can take from that we can do as well. And that is, he made it a point to focus on others. And as he did this, he went around as he focused on others, it actually helped him to connect with others. And, that's one of the magical things that made him so effective in reaching people and connecting with them and helping them. You personally, do you connect with people who don't even notice you? Who don't pay any attention to you? They're so stuck on themselves. Are those the people that we're drawn to, that we connect with? That are those the ones that we look at and say, there's a person of truth? I mean, no, not at all. Far from it. And Jesus, while he was very much focused on others, and he did it for the right reasons. And of course, that is also key in this, because the Pharisees, the Sadducees, teachers of the law, the scribes, the leaders of the Jewish people back in his day, he blasted them for not being focused on others, so being so self-consumed. Or you could say, even when they did focus on others, it was often to weigh other people down, to cut them down, weigh them down, and make them feel less than. It was never in a good manner or in a positive way. It was always trying to burden, to make others stumble. And with that said, we need to make it a point to focus outward, and it's true, we do need to focus inward, as mentioned first, but also outward, and be willing, and even more than willing. It'd be great if we can actually be the kind of people who want to connect with others and be a light to them. So there's the second fundamental, is to know others more deeply and to focus on them, to be more interested than interesting. And then we come to the third fundamental of being a person of truth. And this one, you might wonder, how is this apply, or how does it help us be a person of truth? But I would say the third thing that we can do is to discover the joy of learning new insights. Be refreshed by the newness life has to offer. Yeah. How does that help us to be people of truth? Well, it's a fairly simple principle to grasp in understanding how and why. But what happens is, when we are, you know, when we learn and that stuff, and expand and grow, we become more confident. And confidence helps us to be true. Yes, you heard me correctly. Confidence helps us to be people of truth. And how is that? Well, consider, you know, when whenever we would lie, hopefully that isn't a regular habit of yours. I certainly, not to say I never have, but I try not to. Try not to be that kind of person. But whenever we lie, many times falsehood is, comes out of the fact that, you know, we believe if we do or say something that's not true, it will buy us an escape from the fear that's to come, that might, come to us otherwise, that fear says will happen. Whereas, when we're confident, we can, face the truth, that, and we don't need to lie, because we don't fear. You know, falsehood is often rooted in fear, and confidence enables us to be true. It empowers us to face the circumstances, to face the people, the reality of what's at stake, even if there is potential punishment to come. And sometimes punishment will come. Other times we might be a bit surprised when we find out that because we were willing to be honest, that the other people showed us grace. For instance, let me give you, two scenarios here. Let's say you snuffed out a lie and it went under the radar. It wasn't even noticed that you were, you know, being dishonest with people. And, you know, you, so you weren't ever confronted about it. You escaped a reprobation. There's one scenario. Then say there's another scenario where you had made a prior commitment in that, and then later you made another commitment, not realizing that they both overlapped or they wouldn't allow for you to commit to both. And so as a result, you know, you're in a bind here. But being the confident person you are, you step out and you do what you believe is the right thing to do. And, you know, sometimes that might come down to what's at stake before both. Is one more urgent, more of a dire situation? Maybe, maybe not. But with that said, you know, if all things are equal, pretty much, generally I would go with the one that I committed to first. Unless that person said, if you need to reschedule, let me know. Then I might consider if the other one, that's the person I told after the first one, and the second one, if I told them, that, you know, that they said that they wouldn't be able to reschedule or it was critical, then maybe I do see if I reschedule the first. But say you can't do both because they're opposed each other. You can't be two places at once. So you go step out in confidence and you do what's right. And as a result, your friend is deeply hurt. She's really hurt, offended, on that and stuff. So of the two scenarios, which would you rather be in, in that? Well, whichever it is, which might be a difficult choice, for you, but whichever it is, let's go back. Let's just say that you chose the first one, but instead of it flying under the radar, you were caught. Yes, you lied, then you were caught red handed. Well, now what? You see, this is you know, while it's good to learn to be confident, where we can, don't put ourselves into a um, position that sabotages our character. And with that, confidence helps us in that respect. We are more true to our word. We are more true to ourselves, to others, and we can handle ourselves so much better. And being confident, as such that, even when we're put in a situation where it's embarrassing or it's, the circumstances we are, find ourselves in are such that we don't, we're not comfortable at all. Well, even then, we can handle ourselves much better when we're at peace with ourselves and knowing that we're doing right and we're confident. Friend, it'll be very difficult, if not impossible, for you, for me, for us to be at peace and to be confident if we're also not being true. Each one is interconnected to the other, like a triangle. Yet, peace, confidence, and truth. One part's missing, it doesn't come together. You see a triangle with one side off. It's not a connected triangle. So, that's where we are. We need to, be looking at, ways that we can grow. And plus, you'll find many times that being out there and being open to stuff and learning, absorbing, when you learn new things, that intrigue, what makes us want to know more. That's what new things often do as we learn them. It intrigues us. And we lean in, we want to know more. Plus, intrigue is laden with joy. It enhances our outlook on life, gives us a better, sharper perspective, and gives us an inner security. Is it foolproof? No. But you will be much better to do that and grow in your confidence, and in turn, become more true. That's what confidence will do. It'll help us to be true more often, and it will help us to become more true to who we are, to those around us, and to life. So these are the three fundamentals. One, know yourself. Understand yourself. Don't pretend or exaggerate. Understand who you are. Understand how you are. Second, it'll be good for us to connect with others on a deeper level, to know others more deeply, to really be connected and to truly care, to get outside of ourselves, not to be so consumed with who we are. No, we need to be more interested than we are interesting. And then third, it would do us well to develop or to discover the joy of learning new insights, of being refreshed by the newness of life. Those are the three fundamentals that will help us to live in truth and to be people of truth. We're going to break away to a commercial now, and we'll be back in a minute, and I'll be looking to wrap things up and to share more and to talk about what you can do. And remember, these are insights to incite us to action. We will return.
Wow, that was insightful. Stay tuned as we go on a quick break, and we'll be right back with more Insights to Incite right here on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV. Are you seeking a speaker or coach who speaks life into your people? If so, look no further. Brandon Lawson is one who will inspire and motivate his audience, as well as empathize and relate to all. Reach out to Brandon and let him be your speaker and life coach by sending an email to brandon@connectandimpact.net or calling him at 513-520-7597. Brandon looks forward to speaking with you, to you, and for you. Let's connect and impact today. Insights to Incite, a real show with real-life messages. This show, which can be found on radio, TV, and our podcast, gives us insight to incite us to action and to excellence. Watch and or listen to Insights to Incite live at noon Eastern Time every Thursday on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Check out our past episodes on iHeartRadio, YouTube, or anywhere you listen to your podcast. Join us each week, and together we will escape the mundane. We are back with more Insights to Incite, so get ready and tune in to listen and watch. Now, once again, let's join Brandon Lawson.
Hello. So today we talked about, whether we're new to town, we visit someplace first time, first day in the office, whatever it is, first time you met your future spouse or their family, and how it can be an awkward situation. Then we know to be polite, to be courteous, to be kind. I mean, that's a given. I mean, anybody who has any years on them is completely aware of that. But we talked about, what do we do in those situations? How are we to be? And we discussed 3 fundamentals to being true. And friend, in light of that, we want to point you to something. I might get my paper here. We are wanting to be true to who we are, and I think that it's key that we remember the human design is to be, relatable, to be connected. We are meant to be attracted to and united with one another. And just want to take a moment to, I saw on the screen there, had one of our viewers, listeners spoke up, Carolyn, or CJ. Yes, I appreciate your input, and you're right. These will fall right in line with ways to be able to get peace. And also, as we know that, those who are at peace are the only ones that can help to bring peace, because you can't give what you don't have. So thank you for that, CJ. Appreciate your input there, and the affirmation. And with that said, I want us to to think about what are we going to take from this? How do these how can we take these truths to use them to to incite us to action? What will you do with these? I mean, that's at the heart of what this, not just this today's message, but what this show's about. I want to incite us, want to give you insights to incite you, to incite myself to action, to be better people. So, at the outset, before I started to get into the crux of the lesson, I, was, just thinking to myself, what characterizes a life that is real, that is true, not an act or a phony? Friend, I think if we look at it, it can be said in a simple statement that that person is true by the mere fact that they don't put up a front. There's no facade. They're real right down to the very core of who they are. And with that said, they don't, they're not insecure. They don't have a double standard. They're stable and secure in who they are. And they have one master. They have one. They're not pulled different directions in that. They have one master they serve. And in light of that, I want to turn to a couple passages of scripture that speak to this. First one is found in Matthew chapter 6, starting in verse 19. It says, "Don't collect for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but collect for yourselves treasures in heaven where neither moth nor rust destroys and where thieves don't break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eye is good, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. So if the light within you is darkness, how deep is that darkness? No one can be a slave of two masters, since either he will hate one and love the other, or be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot be slaves of God and of money." So we see, when we're divided, that will keep us from truly being people of truth, because we're trying to please the crowd, and there's different views, different wishes and preferences from depending on who you look to, and you're pulled left and right. You cannot be a person of truth if you're pleasing everyone, and neither will you be confident or be at peace. In light of that, there's one other scripture found in James chapter 1. I'm going to be reading from verses 5 through 8. "Now, if any of you lacks wisdom, he should ask God, who gives to all generously and without criticizing, and it will be given to him. But let him ask in faith without doubting. For the doubter is like the surging sea, driven and tossed by the wind. That person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. An indecisive man is unstable in all his ways." And there you have it again, as I was saying about being pulled in different directions. It says it's like a doubter, that, in this case, the doubter would be, the two ways is, yeah, you believe, but then you don't. But it's still, you're going two different directions. One way this time, one way that time. And the scripture says, you're like the surging sea, driven and tossed by the wind, tossed about throughout the sea, out in the ocean. You don't have any foundation, and fundamentals are key to laying the foundation. So that's where, a person of truth is stable and secure. They have one master. So, what are you? Have we considered? It's not something that I go and I would speak to someone and necessarily put them on the spot, but I say it from afar or in the show to allow you to ask yourselves. And I ask myself, have I been these, is my foundation laid on these three? Well, I would say yes to some extent. I certainly need to improve, need to be better. But with that said, we're going to get ready to close this show and, conclude this session, should say. And just want to thank you for joining me. And we hope you'll be back with us next Thursday and every Thursday at 12 noon Eastern as we together, learn lessons and gather insights to incite us to action. And together we will escape the mundane. Brandon Lawson, thank you.
Wow, what an insightful show. Thanks for listening in and watching today. If you missed any part of today's show or any other episode, check it out on iHeartRadio, YouTube, or anywhere you listen to your podcast. Now take today's insight and utilize it. Incite yourself to action and to excellence in the week ahead, and join us again next Thursday and every Thursday at 12 noon Eastern Time for another insightful session with Brandon Lawson as he speaks to us and shares some more insights to incite right here on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV.